Hi everyone! In this video we're going to talk about Isaiah 15 and 16. Well, in this video it's going to be 15, which is the oracle concerning Moab, but it extends to chapter 16. 15 is a short chapter, only 9 verses long. And make sure you look at the structure that I'm going to put up, because seeing structure helps you understand the whole oracle and find where the emphasis lies. Okay? And if you look at the structure, we're going to go section by section in a minute. But for now, I want to point out E. If you see the section E, the very center, the pinnacle falls on E, and it's an offer of shelter in Zion. Once again, in the middle of an oracle concerning Moab, we have Zion, Jerusalem, spoken of. And once again, this is the same pattern you see in oracle on Babylon and Philistia, and just the whole structure of 13 through 27. Okay, it's an important thing, but we'll deal with this more in detail in the next video, because in chapter 16. But let's dive into chapter 15, starting from verse 1. An oracle concerning Moab. Because Ar of Moab is laid waste in a night, Moab is undone. Because Kir of Moab is laid waste in a night, Moab is undone. That's section A. Moab's certain ruin is pronounced. Verse 2. He has gone up to the temple and to Dibon, to the high places to weep. Over Nebo and over Medeba, Moab wails. On every head is baldness, every beard is shorn. In the streets they wear sackcloth, on the housetops and in the squares everyone wails and melts in tears. Heshbon and Elealeh cry out, their voice is heard as far as Jahaz. Therefore the armed men of Moab cry aloud, his soul trembles. Pause. Okay, this is just a grief. It's a section B on the outline. It's the Moab's grief expressed. So in verse 1 we had Moab's destruction pronounced, and it's giving us more details. He has gone up to the temple, verse 2, and to Dibon. The Dibon temple is where the god Chemosh was. That's the Moabite god, and it's a terrible god that involved some child sacrifice. And people are going up there and they're weeping, they're wailing. Why? Because they're asking their God for help, but apparently he is not answering them. Okay, the rescue that they're seeking from their God is not coming, and they are in a tough situation. Okay, that's the point. Verse 4, I want to point out something real quick. Heshbon and Elealeh cry out, their voice is heard as far as Jahaz. Jahaz, these are all cities in Moab. Jahaz is about 10 miles away from Heshbon and Elealeh. Elealeh are very close to one another, but Jahaz is like 10 miles from it. But the weeping in Heshbon and Elealeh are so loud, they're weeping so badly that people from 10 miles away can hear them. Okay, so it's giving you a description of how bad the situation is in Moab. Really interesting is the next verse, verse 5. My heart cries out for Moab. Her fugitives flee to Zoar, to Eglat Shelishiyah. For at the ascent of Luhith they go up weeping. On the road to Horonaim they raise a cry of destruction. The waters of Nimrim are a desolation. The grass is withered, the vegetation fails, the greenery is no more. Therefore the abundance they have gained and what they have laid up, they carry away over the brook of the willows. For a cry has gone around the land of Moab. Her wailing reaches to Eglaim. Her wailing reaches to Be'er Elim. For the waters of Dibon are full of blood. For I will bring upon Dibon even more. A lion for those of Moab who escape, for the remnant of the land. Let's go back to verse 5. My heart cries out for Moab. So this is section C. And I wrote here the Lord's grief of Moab, because now we have suddenly this first person. My heart cries out for Moab. So like we were told Moab's going to be destroyed, but somebody's sad about it. And who is who is I? Who is speaking? It's God. You can understand this to mean Isaiah. Okay, Isaiah could be the I. But either way, it doesn't matter. Isaiah is probably speaking on behalf of God, or he is on par with God. He's on the same page with God. So whether it be the Lord speaking or Isaiah speaking, it doesn't matter. It represents God's heart. And so in other words, God is crying out for Moab because all the terrible things that's happening, the vegetation failed, the greenery is no more, and they're being carried away, and so on. Okay? And I wanna divert here a little bit and say this is the kind of God that we worship. Even when God must judge people, he has pity on them and grieves over them. Okay? The judgment upon Moab is brought by God himself. God ordained it, and yet God is weeping. God had to do it because of his just nature, his righteousness, his justice, but doesn't mean he enjoys it. Doesn't mean he is happy to punish those who are going against his will. He's weeping for them. Okay? And this applies to us. When we make a mistake, God weeps. When we choose things that are not of him, when we choose our own strength over relying on him, God is weeping. God's heart cries out for us. Okay? So remember, this is the kind of God that we worship, and it's like a parent when they discipline a child, they don't enjoy it. It hurts them, their hearts cry out, but they have to do it. But doesn't mean they enjoy it. Okay? And this will be repeated again in chapter 16 if you look at the outline that I put up carefully. But yeah, there are more things that I want that can be spoken of, but I think I can pause here on chapter 15 because it's relatively a straightforward chapter, but chapter 16 will be a little more confusing, and I want to spend a little more time on that. So this is what chapter 15 is all about.